In this exercise, we're looking at activity 2, number 3. This is the program. This is where many companies choose the telephone numbers so it can be displayed as a combination of a prefix and a 7-letter word. For example, 083 plumber. The word plumber is actually the number 7586237. If we take a look where this comes from, it comes from this part, where the P is the 7, the L is the 5, the U is the 8, 758, and so it continues. Because of the arrangements of the letters on the cell phone keyboard, the numbers can be dialed by pressing the keys containing the letters. So you're going to write a Delphi program that enables the user to enter a combination. So this is the input. Enable the user to enter a combination number, the prefix and the word, which means there you're going to enter the prefix 082, 083, 007, whatever, and here you're going to enter a 7-digit word. For example, the word plumber, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 digits. No more than 7 digits. Right. Interestingly enough, they tell us to make use of procedures without parameters, which we create as methods on the form to do the following. First of all, read a 7-character number. That's the first one. Input. Test or input, read 7-character number. Test if it consists of 7 alphabet letters only. So with the input goes validation. We have to check to see, first of all, if it's 7, minimum of 7, and then secondly, if it's alphabet letters only. And then we have to use a Boolean flag to indicate if the word is valid or not. So that is input. Process, convert the 7 alphabet letters to a number. So if it's valid, then we convert to a number. And then lastly, output, display the complete number with the prefix. So in the event handler, we only need to use the following code. So that is get valid word. So that would be the input and validation. So we're checking to see if the input is validated. Then we do the processing. Then we do the output. So for each one, for input, for process, and for output, each one is put in its own procedure or method of the form. If we go to convert, the program itself, we're going here. Let's go and code that part in. This part here. Get valid word. If B is valid, then begin, convert to number, display to number, and end. I'm going to put this to one side and put that to the other side. I'm going to hide all of that so I can write the code here. So the code only need to be the following in this event handler. It should have the words get valid word, semicolon. So that is a method we're going to call. If B is valid, then begin. So inside of it, we convert to number, semicolon, and we display number, semicolon. Now all of this is currently underlined red because it doesn't exist yet. But that would be for our input and validation of input. Validation meaning we check to see what the person entered is the correct. Then this would be process. And then lastly, that would be output. Let's go to the top here. This is where we're going to put it. So in here, this is where we're going to store our variables. We need to store the following. We need to store the prefix, which is a string. We need to store with the prefix our character number. I'm just going to call it S number, which is going to be a string. So that is for the input. For the output is going to be S new number, which is going to be string, which is going to be the output. So that S number must be the characters, S new number must be the actual number. And it's better to work with strings in this particular stage if there's a 0 or whatever in front. That is for input, for output. As we go along, we will figure out the process, what goes in there. But one that should be there is this one. B is valid. That would be part of the process. B is valid, and that's going to be Boolean. So that will be part of the process. So over there, if is B valid, the answer there will always be true or false. Let's go to our public declarations. That's where we're going to write our procedures. One for input, one for processing, one for output. So the first one is get valid word. So we would write there, procedure, get valid word. They say parameterless, which means we're not going to add anything there at the end. The second one would be procedure, convert to number. And the third one would be procedure, display number. So we've got three there. The one for input and validation. The other one for processing, if it validates. And the other one for output. So where we had input, process, output as one set of code, we're going to put each part now as a separate procedure. And then obviously we're going to create this using CTRL, which is Control plus Shift plus C. Control Shift C. And that gives us our convert to number, display number, get valid word. And we've got prefix and we've got number, which we input. So let's start with the input. Read the 7-character number. Test, first of all, if it consists of 7 alphabet letters, and set a Boolean flag to indicate if the word is valid or not. So let's start here with get valid word. Let's start with the actual input. So we're going to have the S prefix, colon equals our EDT prefix dot text. So that one is relatively easy. And our S number, colon equals our EDT number or EDT word dot text. So that's the input. Now let's start with the validation. Validation is there to check if the user's input is correct according to what they should input. There's two validations here. First of all, if it's a 7-character number. So we would now first go and check if our 7-character number, or if our S number, the length thereof, is greater than 6, or greater or equal to 7. If that is true, then we can say at this stage, because this is only our validation, let's call it validation 1. Then we're going to set our Boolean is valid, set to true, else we're going to set our B is valid to false. That is the first part. This is only the first validation. Now we're going to start with the second validation. And we're still going to use this one, because this one must be true for this part and for this part. And for this part, we now need to go and check every single character to see if it's true. So if S number equals, let's say for example, 1, 2, RET, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 characters. Yes, it's true. It's greater or equal to 7, but it contains a 1, it contains a 2, contains a 5, contains a 6, then it's not a valid number in this case. It must contain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 alphabetical characters for it to be true. So, therefore, we're going to use a loop to check every single character. And when it finds a number, it's going to make our validation false. So let us take a look. In order to do this, we need to do the following. We need to use a loop to check every single character. And for that, we need the following. We need a constant. We need the alpha. We need the alphabet, which is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. I'm making all characters uppercase, so we only need to check one thing. Then for the next thing, we need a local counter, which make integer. You will see now inside the inside the while loop, how we're going to deal with this. I'm making it bigger so that everyone can see better. So what we are going to say is while our flag is true. That's the first one. So while that is true and our I local, that should be local counter, I local counter is less than or equal to the length of, and this is our S number. Do the following. I local counter, it's still giving me an error there, and I local counter, I'll check now what the error is. Begin and end. We've got here integer I local counter. Oh, it's part of a constant. That shouldn't be part of a constant. So that should be declared as a variable. There we go. Inside the loop, we're now going to say if the position, and now we're looking upcase, because a person can enter small letters. He can enter like that. And ours is only capitals, so it's not going to write it. Now, upcase is for a single character. So inside, we're going to put the S number, square bracket, I, local counter. So it's going to go, the first one, and it's going to see if the position of that in alphabet. If upcase alphabet, if that is equal to 0. If the position upcase of S number, local counter, upcase, we need to close there. There we go. If the position of that number in the alphabet is equal to 0, which means it did not find it. It will, if that R, it will return a value there. For the E, it will return a value there. It will be greater than 0. If POS did not find that particular single character in the alphabet, it will return for us a 0. It will give us an answer of 0. Then, if that is true, it means that value is not inside the alphabet. And then we're going to set B is valid to false. Else, we're going to increase I local counter. That's for the while loop. Before we go into the while loop, remember, initialize. So I local counter, we need to set to 1, to the first character. So the way it works is this. It's going to look for S number, the first value there. So we're going to try to upcase, it's a 1. So it will give us 1 there. Is 1 in alphabet? No. So it will return for us a 0, which means that's going to become true, which means our validation is not going to work, and it will kick out there because while B is valid, is now going to become false. Remember, a while loop runs only when the values are true and this value is true. That is one of the ways a while loop runs. It only runs while the values are true. As soon as one of them becomes false, the while loop stops. So the while loop here is going to stop in one of two ways. Either when this becomes false, or the local counter becomes larger than the length, which means then we've actually run out of the number. And that's it. That's part of the input. The input is the input itself. We're checking for the first validation, and then we're checking for the second validation. If that validation is true, if B is valid, if that becomes true, then we're going to convert it to a number. And in this particular case, it is really not that difficult, because all that you need to know are the intervals for the programs. So here's the intervals. The ABC is the 2, DEF is 3, GHI 4, and so it goes on up to WXYZ. I'm going to put this again. If my computer is going to allow me, like that, and then I'm going to put that one like that. So I'm going to convert to number. Now, how would I convert to a number? I would go through a for do loop, and I would take each one and check to see if it's a 2, a 3, or what, or A, B, C, and that would be a 2. A D, E, F, that would be a 3. So in this case, I would use a case statement instead of an if, because it just would work better. My output would be S new number. So the first thing that I would do, so this would be the output. Apologies, this would be the process. So S new number would now become 2 single inverted commas. That's initialization. Then thereafter, I would go for I loop equals 1 to the length of that S number. Begin. Now inside, I would now firstly put a C letter, which I would make a char. Reason for that being, I'm now going to put inside of it C letter. I'm going to copy, or I don't even need copy. I'm just going to can say S number square bracket I loop like that. But it would still be lowercase. So I would go upcase that again to get it to, and we're using a single character, so I would use upcase. Upcase is for a single character, and then the other one that's there is uppercase, which is for multiple characters. In this case, we're using a single character. So I would do that first. Now, depending on what that is, case, C letter, off. And now it becomes easy. If it is A through to a C, then what am I going to do? I'm going to say S new number colon equals whatever was in it before, so S new number plus, in this case, a 2. I'm going to copy and paste to make it easier, so that I would copy and paste it once, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now I just go and change the values. So that would be DEF. So that would be D through to F, and that would be 3. I'm going to change it 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And here, just make sure it corresponds. So that would be G through I, J through L, and ensure that it's capitals because we only work with capitals. M through O. When you do something like this, when you work with string handling, you work with characters, you'd need to check with validation and that, make sure it's all the same type. So make sure you always work with capitals. So after the O, that is P through to S, then T through V, and then W through Z. Okay, we're done with that part. And that's it. That's the process. That's the whole process. So what we've done for the input, let's quickly take a look. For the input, there's the input. Read in the 7-character number. There we did. Read it in. Test if it consists of 7 alphabet letters only. Here, that's the first validation. and set the Boolean flag to indicate if the word is valid or not, implying that we need to check for validation too. So here we set the first validation to true, and then we use it as part of the second validation to check to see if there's only alphabet letters. Convert the 7 alphabet letters to a number. In this particular case, we loop through the whole thing through S number each and every time, taking a single letter and converting it to a number, depending on what it is. Now let's display the number. The display is actually very easy. It's going to be the panel display dot caption colon equals. The first thing that we need to do is we need to do the prefix. So S prefix plus a minus plus S new number, and that's it. That is output, and there's the whole program based on 3 procedures where we split the input, the process, the output. Let's go and see if this program actually works. They give us the word 083, and let's see if it works. Plumber. If we convert, that gets to 758 6237, which works perfectly. All that we did, through the procedures, we broke up our code. Otherwise, all of this code would be in one single process button, which is not incorrect, but it better serves us for the input to be separate in a separate procedure, the process to be in a separate procedure, and the output to be in a separate procedure. And that is the program.